Today on We Love It Outdoors.
6:45, there he is. 2 nights in a row, same time.
Bluff Outfitters right here in Buffalo County, Wisconsin. Where's his dad?
I'm Dan Eigen, full-time guide and avid outdoorsman. These days, it's easy to get stuck inside in a virtual world. But the real world is outside. So I challenge you to put your instincts to work, making real memories with real people. Because we love it outdoors. When you're chasing the best outdoor adventures in the upper Midwest, you end up spending a lot of time on the road, and it has the potential of getting a little tiresome. But when waiting at the end of the road is a place that produces more trophy whitetail bucks than just about any place in the country, it gets a little easier to stay motivated.
Way bigger than I thought he was.
We've been to Wisconsin's Buffalo County before. A year ago, we were here for a rifle hunt and got a good look at the kind of animals that roam these scenic bluffs.
Last couple of years I got a nice 8, another 10 last year, and this is the 7 this year.
Good for you.
This year, we're here a little earlier on an archery hunt. In fact, this is the first leg of what could be a 2-pronged hunt, with the first trip during the pre-rut period of early October, and we have another window of opportunity to come back during the heat of the rut in early November. I cannot wait to be on stand in an area where they grow them this big and this big and this high and like this, and it's just like, oh boy. Our final destination is a scenic lodge along the Buffalo River just east of Alma, Wisconsin, which is home of Bluff Outfitters, owned and operated by Butch and Mark Fox.
Hey guys.
It's going good. How are you doing? This looks like a motley crew.
How you doing?
I'm Dan Eigen.
Jeremy Moore, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jeremy.
Fox.
Hey,
Nice to meet you, Dan.
Butch, nice to meet you.
Mark Fox.
Mark
Nice
Fox.
to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. You look like some deer hunters.
Buffalo County is hilly, rugged country, but it's also lush farmland. I mean, there's corn, soybeans, alfalfa, and the farmers they have some nice crops here. So we want to hold our deer on our property. So, if you got food, water, don't put a lot of pressure on animals, they really don't have any reason to leave.
I've shot quite a few deer, but I've shot 25 pulp and young bucks. We're just fortunate to have land in Buffalo County. You got everybody doing quality deer management. Everyone's passing up, your 2 to 3-year-old bucks. They're getting by and they're getting to 4 and 5 and 6 years old. I think that's the biggest part of it.
I got excited enough just driving down here, daydreaming about Buffalo County bucks. But one glimpse inside the Bluff Outfitters Lodge is enough to drive a die-hard bow hunter over the edge. Unbelievable. Seeing those animals was more than I could take. So we put the pleasantries aside and got right to the important stuff, like setting up my bow, oh boy, slinging a few arrows to make sure everything was working, gearing up and spraying down with scent killer, and heading into the woods, where the buck sign was plentiful and fresh.
Walk right over. You're standing on one too. The antler worked.
It's the final day of the early season youth rifle hunt here, so I've got to wear a little orange. and I'm headed for a waterhole stand located between a known feeding area and the bedding grounds.
Beautiful night. Just a little whisper of wind. It just seems like something's gonna happen at any time. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and this feels so good to be up here knowing that we're in the heart of big buck country. It gives you just this little extra, you know, and the anticipation is even greater than normal, you know. Back home, central Minnesota, where I'm used to hunting and have for the last 25 years, to see a 130-inch whitetail is a rarity. And out here, they have to be 130 or over to shoot them. So that's telling you that quality deer management works.
The conditions are perfect. The location is perfect. The adrenaline is pumping, and the deer are here. High in a tree, deep in the bluffs of Buffalo County, Wisconsin, our trophy whitetail archery hunt is underway. I've been on stand for no more than 10 minutes, and I've already got a pair of does in front of me. My hope is that Big Daddy won't be far behind. I'm not alone in the woods tonight. Jeremy Moore is the owner of a cutting-edge dog training company called Dogbone that specializes in training game retrieval dogs. He's also a part-time guide here at Bluff Bucks Outfitters. But this week, he's an avid hunter with a tag to fill. And he's already got multiple small bucks putting on an incredible pre-rut show right in front of him. Our first night in the woods ends with plenty of action, but no shooters. Bluff Bucks Outfitters operates on over 4,000 acres of owned and leased land, with over 300 stands strategically placed throughout. And those stand locations are not chosen at random.
Early season, we're hunting food plots, food sources, bachelor group deer, so pond sets and stuff like that. Once you get to the rut, I'm not gonna say deer forget about eating because they still eat and they still drink, but everything's fast paced. So, these pinch points or funnels where these bucks are coming through to check for does is definitely where you gotta be.
And to find those locations, the crew puts as many electronic eyes in the field as they can, utilizing the latest in motion-activated cameras to identify and, more importantly, to pattern the mature trophy deer.
Look at that. Oh, he's 20 and a half inches on the inside, right?
Yeah, I think he's about 21, but... Okay, now it's the 8th, okay? 6:26, 6:45, there he is, again, okay? 2 nights in a row, same time. So I think what he did, he was in there the night before, because he was there all night. That's when all the rubbing, and now he's checking. He's back checking.
And yeah, look at all these cards that you have to keep straight. This is more than a full-time job. Wow.
So this is sit number 3 with Bucks Outfitters right here in Buffalo County, Wisconsin. We've seen deer the first 2 sits, and now we got word from Mark that 140-inch 9-pointer has been coming, was in here last night at 2:05, and it's about what time it is right now.
It's our 3rd night on stand at Bluff Bucks Outfitters in Buffalo County, Wisconsin, and both Jeremy Moore and I are enjoying a classic whitetail show. I've got a small 6-point that rubbed a branch so hard he took the branch with him. While Jeremy has a rare opportunity to watch a young buck making a scrape. Still, as another night falls, neither of us get a look at a shooter buck.
So now she's starting to anticipate that turn.
For Jeremy Moore, big game hunting is his business, but not in the traditional sense. Jeremy is one of a few dog trainers that specifically trains dogs to track and locate both wounded game and shed antlers.
I thought about it. I thought, how can I use my gun dogs, my bird dogs, and use them to help me with whitetail hunting? Because I still love training the dogs, and if I gave up the bird hunting, what was I going to do with the dogs? And that's when I started thinking about, well, I've heard about guys using these dogs to shed hunt with. So I took an older dog of mine. She was 8 years old at the time, and I started fooling around with her and experimenting, seeing if I could get her to pick up shed antlers for me. And we ran into some problems with that process. That's how Dogbone, the training products, came about. It's tools, real similar to the tools that I use to train a bird dog, but we implement a different, we use the antler shape, we use the antler scent, we use a real similar process to the classic retriever training, but now we're training them to pick up shed antlers. From that, we ended up doing this game recovery because the guys we were training shed dogs for, clients, asked me, they said, hey, can I use it to do both? Can I track with it and shed hunt with it? And we said, yeah, there's no reason we can't. So we started in on training these dogs as tracking dogs. And now we've got, what we're doing is we're developing a deer dog. A dog that you're gonna have, just like you would your classic retriever, but you're gonna use it for shed hunting, you're also gonna use it for tracking. And you can still use it for bird hunting. I've got dogs in training right now. I've got a little dog. We filmed her yesterday. That little dog is gonna be a duck dog, a pheasant dog, a tracking dog, whitetails, or deer, and also a shed dog. So they're very versatile. It just takes a little bit of different training. So that's kind of how Dogbone got to where it is now.
It's the final night of our early season archery hunt here in Buffalo County. But the plan is to still hold out for a trophy buck because we do have an opportunity to come back for another hunt just prior to the rifle season in early November. So while I'd love to see a big deer, it's not do or die.
These darn swirling winds. It's like when we were down at the truck, the wind was blowing right out of here. Now I got wind in my face, so that's why scent control is huge. And you gotta do what you can do. we're definitely in here before any deer movement, so it's time to get up and get after it.
Jeremy is also back in the woods tonight, and like every sit so far, the action starts early and is intense. As is typical of the pre-rut, deer activity is high for does and groups of young bucks, but the alpha males are still elusive. And we'll have to wait for our November trip to hopefully get a shot at a Buffalo County bruiser.
When Dan came down earlier, you know, it was a different kind of phase of the way the deer were acting. We were hunting a lot of water sets, a lot of food sets. It was kind of pre-rut. It wasn't quite, I mean, it wasn't rut. It was early on, and you know, it changes as the fall kind of goes along, it changes. And I called Dan because we started seeing a lot more rut activity, a lot more scrapes, and actually a little bit of chasing. So I'd call Dan and see, you know, can he sneak down for a couple days and get down and get in a stand, get in a tree for a couple days and see what happens. And
when we left Buffalo County in October, we gave Jeremy explicit instructions to call as soon as the rut activity picked up. And in early November, the evidence was clear and the time was right. So we came back down to Bluff Bucks Outfitters to join Jeremy Moore and continue our trophy whitetail hunt.
when you look at the big picture of the rut, it might stretch 2-3 weeks, but there's certain times, there's certain days, and maybe day or two that are strung together that is when it's on right now, and they are chasing hard. But then it'll slow down. You get in little lockdown periods, and you might go a day or two and see real limited activity. But then all of a sudden they get hot again. So it's over that big period of time, you've got those little windows that it's just unbelievable. No other time of the year like it.
Unfortunately, we only had one cameraman on this return trip, and that cameraman was with me. So when we got the call that very first afternoon that Jeremy had a buck on the ground, we made our way over there in a hurry.
Thank you.
God,
Thank you, man. Yeah, I know it.
Beautiful animal.
I know it. Beautiful deer. Now, he's old. He's an old buck.
I'd say.
But, God, I'm just glad, with the rain it came in. And, that might have had something to do with the deer moving like that, too. But he was chasing. He was following does. And I'm glad we got it done before this rain set in. But dog did awesome. And old buck. Really nice
shot, too.
Yeah, steep hill, good angle. And, yeah, he went 150 yards is all he went. So it was awesome. It was really cool.
Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That is a beautiful, beautiful, heavy.
A lot of mass.
Unique, too.
Big,
look
at that head on him, too. He's just
the old stub nose.
He's got a melon on him, doesn't he? Pretty deer, though.
Yeah, congratulations. That
Thanks,
is
man.
awesome.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this buck is a perfect example of management at work. Older deer, take out those older deer, but makes room for the young deer. And I don't know anyone who has an opportunity to shoot a 6-year-old buck that isn't a trophy. They get this old, they're giants. They really are.
Mm-hmm. We may not have had a camera on stand with Jeremy when he shot this beautiful Bluff Bucks bruiser, but Jeremy brought his camera when he gave one of his young dogs the chance to track him. And when you see the footage of this dog bone dog at work, it's nothing short of amazing.
So what we'll do is we put the second leash on. This is her trigger. This is kind of the switch for her to get off of heel, and she can kind of work out. So what we'll do is we'll just let her get the blood. We got good blood right where we started here, so we'll let her work it and see where she takes us. I've never seen anything like that before. But good job. Now, her first track job, I felt pretty good. He probably only went a couple 100 yards. I felt really good about the shot, and it looks good. But it was a good opportunity for her to track. This is really only her second track. The other one was a gun. My son shot with a gun, so really good opportunity for her. Really good buck. My oldest buck ever, by far. Takes a while. Hard to grow them that old. But bluff bucks, man, they have giants and they got a lot of old ones.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice deer.
Yeah.
Good boy, ain't he?
Yeah, he is.
Nice and heavy. And,
Big head on him, huh?
yeah, he's got to be about 6, I'd say, huh?
I would say, yeah. I would guess. Yeah.
That's a beauty, huh? Another Buffalo
That's right.
County
Buffalo
buck,
County
huh?
That's a good one.
Yeah, this has been an awesome hunt, you guys. I totally appreciate it.
bet.
You know,
Anytime.
putting me up and
Hey,
all the
thank you.
hard work and
You bet.
all the awesome food. I mean, boy, oh boy, this has been a hunt of all hunts, and to be able to come down and do it twice,
Be awesome.
I'll be back.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay,
Well,
sounds good.
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Congrats
Thank
on
you.
an awesome buck.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thanks.
I didn't shoot a trophy buck on this trip, but being there to see Jeremy's once-in-a-lifetime deer was well worth it. And before we could even get on the road for home, another monster came rolling in.
Way bigger than I thought he was.
But that's nothing out of the ordinary in Buffalo County, Wisconsin, and we love it. Continue this adventure by visiting your local Mills Fleet Farm store or shop online at fleetfarm.com for all your sporting good needs and more. fleetfarm.com.